He is a 4-time Bassmaster winner and just qualified for his 8th Bassmaster Classic. From North Prince George, Virginia, Jacob Powroznik joins me this week on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Welcome one, welcome all, friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks, all of you. You're all welcome here at the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. Welcome into the 131st edition of this particular show. It is Wednesday, October the 11th. Hard to believe it's October 11th already. It's finally starting to feel a little bit like fall, which as you guys know, I love to swim with the fishes, and that hurts that, but it makes the fishing better. The drop in temperature in the water, not good for swimming with them, but really good for catching them. So it all kind of equals out. And when you think about it, I mean, this is a great time of the year. I mean, if you're like me, if you are a sports junkie, I'm kind of one of those knuckleheads who watches just about every single sport there is out there, and they all start happening now. I mean, obviously, we're in the middle of things with the NFL and college football, hockey, NHL back in your life this week. Baseball playoffs are ramping up and heating up. And if you're a basketball fan, I mean, that starts in a couple of weeks. So lots of sports to watch, lots of things to go on. And that's why I feel I should have to say thank you for tuning into this, because there is other things you can tune into, but you choose to tune into this, and I thank each and every one of you for tuning in week after week. And this week we got another great show with a great guest, a guy who, and I probably should have asked him this, he doesn't do a lot of podcasts. You just don't see him on a lot of podcasts. I think the answer is probably he just goes hunting. He just disappears and goes hunting. But Jacob Powroznik, this week's guest, and we have a great conversation about a lot of different things. And I swear to you, I mean, you may not believe me, but I swear to you, I literally did not want to talk about forward-facing sonar at all. I literally wrote on a piece of paper around here, no FFS. But guess what? We ended up talking about it. I mean, it's a very polarizing topic. We're going to try to stop talking about it, because, I mean, it just seems like nobody's happy after you talk about it. It's just like, it's just one of those topics that people feel a certain way in many different, I mean, I'm talking about it again. Stop it. No more talking about it. Let's just, here's how we're going to stop talking about it just for a few minutes anyways, by introducing our next guest, or our only guest this week. To North Prince George, Virginia we travel and hook up with Jacob Powroznik. Jacob Powroznik, it is the off season, and what do you do in the off season?
I do a lot of hunting. Like right now, I'm down here at the lodge. This is actually where we're doing this film from. You know, duck hunted yesterday, deer hunted yesterday evening, and then, you know, just kind of relaxing this morning. Actually hunted this morning and didn't see very many deer. They're not moving really good right now. It was kind of warm again. You know, it's still that time of season, but it's love is in the air. You know, there's a few deer trying to run around and chase a little bit starting. So, you know, get this podcast done and have me a little 1 hour power nap or something, and get back after this evening. But I love sitting in the woods. I love deer hunting. It's just one of them things where I can relax. I can leave my phone. If I want to bring it out and look at something in there, then I can, or if I can just leave it in my pocket. I don't have to have it out and, you know, think about something. So it gives me a time just to kind of relax and think about, you know, the upcoming things and, you know, things and reflect on the past year. You know, I mean, people say a year is a long time, but it goes by so fast. And, you know, it's just one of those things that you get to sit back and kind of look at it and understand what you did wrong and what you did right and things like that. So it's just been a passion. I've done it all my life and I enjoy it, man. And something about the leaves falling off the trees and that time of year, man, it's magic.
It's a weird thing where I think that what hunting gives to people who do what you do, it's all, you know what I mean? Like you're totally immersing yourself in nature. Like I think that there's a reward that comes from that for everybody. And obviously that's why you hunt and that's what you got into it initially. But I think as you get older or as you have more pressure in your life as a professional angler, is it something that is more needed, do you find?
Well, yes, the way the fishing industry is right now, and has become, and with that going, I think we argue more in fishing now than we do anything in the world, about just the stupidest crap. But it just no, it's not really about this time. It's always just been that time of year where, man, it's just something magical about I guess you've been hot all year long. It's been summertime. I mean, not as far as much you, because you wake up in the summertime and it's 50 degrees outside. But, down here, like I live in Virginia. So, a lot of times it's 100 degrees outside and things are, you wake up and it's 90 at daylight in the morning. So you get those first couple cool mornings and that stuff. And it's just like I said, it's like magic in the air. And it's just, man, it's something that fires you up. And now I will tell you this, in about the middle part of December, Christmas time, whatever, I'll be over it. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to go back fishing, but still have a month left of work to do before I get to go. But I do get tired of it. But when it's like the beginning of it right now, the deer are starting to rut a little bit. They're starting to chase a little bit. Yeah, it's the magic time of the year.
So, do you think it's important for you to have the break from fishing? Like when you say, come the end of December, I'm ready to get back at it. Like, does the break from or do you have a break from fishing?
I do. I like, I got one more little tournament left here in the next couple of days or next week or so. And then I probably won't pick up another rod unless I go like offshore fishing or something out in the ocean or go, just crappie fishing or something like that. But for the most part of a bass fishing in a tournament where I'm in competition, no, it will be, I guess when we go to Toledo Bend will be my first one of the year, coming up. But it's that time where I have a passion for both hunting and fishing. Somebody asked me the other day if I had to choose one, what would it be? And I told him if I could turkey hunt all year long, I would probably be a turkey hunter all year long. But if not, I'd have to bass fish all year long. So, turkey hunting in the springtime of the year is something that I really enjoy. And I know I'm floating back because I'm excited about deer season, but like turkey hunting to me is my biggest passion. It's something that I get up, listen to nature, wake up in the morning, and then, have something like that. But if not, then I would have to fish all year long.
So go ahead.
Or I had to find a job because if fishing wasn't, available.
Have you ever had a job?
Yes, I worked with my father. I was pretty wild in high school.
I bet.
And and when I graduated high school, I knew college was probably not going to be good for me. One of those first semester in, you're flunked out. Go home. So my dad owned a construction company. He dug foundations for houses, and the goal was either I was going to be a professional bass fisherman or I was going to take over his business. And, here we are, bass fishing. And I still do work a little bit for, my actual cousin is the one that took the business over. So when he's going on vacation for a week and I have nothing to do, I'll go dig a couple footings and, some gas money to get around town and, stuff like that. So yes, but it was hard work. We dug the footings, poured the concrete, and was ready for the bricklayers when they got there. So
you had me at I was kind of wild in high school. How wild were you in high school?
Merce, if my dad was still here to tell you, there'd probably be some stories that you would really love to hear. I can tell you that. And we'll have to sit down one time, and I'll tell you a few of them. But let's put it this way: he got a lot of calls from the principal when I was in school. But the good thing was we knew most of the teachers and everything, so half of them were my dad's friends and all that stuff. So it was kind of par for the course. But I had no limit, if that means anything.
I don't think you have a lot of limits anymore. I mean, I could only imagine in high school. I don't think you have a lot of limits nowadays. So you said the plan was always to either take over your dad's business or become a pro fisherman. When did you fish your first tournament? How did it start so early for you?
Well, I started fishing the BFLs. Just during high school, my graduation present was a bass boat that my dad bought from Woo Dave's. Woo, my dad were real good buddies. So Woo had a nitro come in from Bass Pro, from Johnny, and they messed up. Instead of sending it with a 200, they sent it with a 150. So Woo said, "Johnny, just let me have it. And let me fish this one tournament with it, and I'll sell it for you." So somehow him and my dad got together, and that was when I graduated high school. That was my first boat. So I fished the BFLs and stuff out of that, and I think I fished 2 years, something won the points in the BFLs, and then the next year started fishing Ever Starts, and I think it was either the first year Ever Starts or the second year I qualified to fish the FLW Tour.
Yeah.
You had to qualify to fish the tour back then. And I turned it down. I didn't think I was ready. And, I live on the James River. So this will tell you how long ago it was. I live on the James River. The next year to qualify, they had the Forcewood Cup on the James River, and David Dudley won $500,000. So I would have loved to have had that chance, but then, the next year I fished the Ever Starts again, won the points, and then qualified for to fish the tour. And I started in, I think 2004, I think is when I started fishing the FLW Tour till 2013, I think.
Yeah.
And then fished the Opens, came to the Elites, and then life goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Woo Dave's connection, was that just your dad's friend, or did you have much of a connection with Woo, or what was that like growing up?
So I used to get to go to practice with Woo for the classics.
Wow.
When I was 10 or 11, or maybe 12, I can't remember exact years, but I'll tell you what classic. It was the one that Dion won on Logan Martin.
Yeah.
The classic Dion won. I got to go with Woo for 3 weeks down there in practice. We had a friend of Woo's had a trailer down there, and he'd give us a trailer. So we stayed for like 3 weeks, practiced every day. And we actually, tell you a little funny story. We wrote a note on Larry Nixon's truck. And Woo told Larry Nixon, "Please do not park this hunk of junk by my boat ramp anymore." That was a long story. And it was funny because Larry stayed with me at Champlain this year for the Elite Series. And I said something to Larry about that. And he vaguely remembered that note because he said it kind of really made him mad. So that was kind of a funny thing. But to get back to so I got to be with, my dad and Woo were really good friends, but, Woo loves racing. He's always got to be doing something. I mean, it's still to this day, he's got to be doing something. So we would rabbit hunt and flounder fish and, all kinds of stuff. And still to this day, we do it. I mean, he comes down and stays with me down here and rabbit hunts a couple of days and deer hunts. And, it's just been a really long lasting relationship. And he's the one that's taught me, a lot about this sport, I mean, because he lived it, before, we did. And now he's asking me questions like, how would you do this or whatever? Because it's times have changed, I mean, he was back to when Mr. Twister Phenom worm, was the purple with a powder tail was the one, I mean, that was, and now he's, he'll call me and ask me questions, which is to me, and maybe not to a lot of people, but to me, I think that's pretty cool, that somebody that's won the Bassmaster Classic, won I don't know how many tournaments and stuff like that, is now he's asking me for, hey, what about this? What about this forward facing sonar? What about, what do you throw here? So the times have changed.
Yeah, that's got to be very cool for you and for him. It's life going in full circle, and it I mean, I don't know whether it's more proud for you or for him to sit and, I mean, now he's watching, this kid that he took fishing when he was 12 years old go out and accomplish, in some ways, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but I would feel if I were in Woo's shoes, I'd feel like you extended my career a little bit. And I'm not there anymore, but somebody who I helped get there is there now. So I'm assuming Woo was the big idol growing up. That was the guy.
Yeah, him and it was him and Larry Nixon. I mean, those two guys were, the ones that I love to watch the most. You know what I'm saying? There was Denny flipping. You had Shaw sight fishing. We had Fishburne back in the day when he was crazy and I can sit here and name them all. I mean, I'm that kind of a junkie when it comes to that. Watching. I mean, Bassmaster came on. I can remember this on Saturday mornings at 6:00, and I would wait all week to listen to Bob Cobb do the deal. Coming on, hearing his voice at the beginning of that. Here we are at Sam Rayburn Reservoir. I mean, I can still remember it to this day. That was the times. That's what made this sport the way it was, and hopefully maybe one day, some way it'll kind of get back to that era a little bit, but it's got a long way to go.
Yeah, I always wonder about that because, I mean, obviously I was one of those weirdos who, that was everything. And it was like, you were lucky if you got an hour, you know what I mean? That week, you got to see. And when you look back at those shows, I mean, and Bob Cobb's a very close friend. And when I talk to him, it's so funny because like we idolized those shows. Like we saw such amazing stuff. But when you really, if you picked them apart, I mean, you hardly ever saw fish catch. It was just, but it was your lifeline to something that we all love, like that Bob Cobb's voice, that music, everything's synonymous. Do you think there is another generation that's watching it now and feels the same, or do you think we can't ever think that because it's not happening to us now? We're already sold.
No, our generation now is glued to it at 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. when we go live.
Yeah.
That's when they're glued to it. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that people are going to watch this and comment on this. If somebody comments on this and tells me they got fired because they watched Bassmaster live, I'll send them an autographed jersey and some hats. So, Mercer, if somebody comments on this and tells them that they got, and I'm, a legitimate, getting fired for that, we'll send them something really good because there's people here at home that like have had their bosses come in and said, look, either cut it off or go home for the day, So it's a really big deal live and having all that but you're watching the whole thing go down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no more secrets, you know what I'm saying? And then when a secret does come out, it only lasts for one, I guess you could say, on Thursday, because we go live on Thursday. And if one of those guys that we picked are on live Thursday, then his little secret's gone, there's no more of that. So that's what I'm saying. The world is turning, everything is turning. And I mean, golly, just people are getting so good, and they're leaving no rock unturned, and that just says it all. Like, I mean, they had a Bassmaster Open come to the James River, which I've lived on the James River my whole life, and I was like, well, there's a few sneaky little hidey holes. Nobody will ever, Nope, they found them all. So, and I mean, these are guys that are fishing the open. So, from the era of TV back in the day to what we have now, it's like it's a new world. So and I can only imagine in 10 years from now, what are we going to have? I mean, you ever sat and thought about it?
It's crazy. I mean, never mind. Where's electronics in 10 years? Where's tech? Like, I mean, if you look at how quick technology, like, dude, literally the night before Bass Live started, I remember eating dinner in our room, me and Zona. It's the night before the Classic, and me, Tommy, and Zona used to always have this tradition of we just go hibernate somewhere, disappear, because I mean, you can't move in the hotel. It's the most awesome thing on earth, but when you're working it and when you're competing in it, you have to try and survive it somehow. And that was one of our things. But I remember literally sitting around eating, and I ate chicken pot pie, and Zona still made fun of me to this day. I don't know. I didn't even know what to order, but we're sitting around and I ordered the most ridiculous chicken pot pie. And I remember us all saying, like, do you think this is even going to work? Because we had tested it and it would always like glitch out and stuff. And we were going to unleash this on the Classic, but it wasn't until that morning. I remember the first moment was driving back from launch and watching, Casey catch a fish, and Dean Rojas was on live that day. And I remember watching it with Van Dam of all people, because that was the Classic he didn't compete in. And he's like, you can see every movement. Like, you can see, sure, in the past, you knew so-and-so was throwing a drop shot or a whatever, but now you can see exactly how he was working the bait. Like, as an angler, that has to get a little frustrating at times. No, like this, it's hard to keep a secret nowadays. Impossible.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, back in the day, you could come in and put your rods up and hide and do all that. No, it's just, you got to go. You got to run with it and figure out something totally different. And now, with the forward-facing sonar and all that stuff, the fishing world is gone, bananas. You know what I'm saying? I mean, once it came out to be an Alabama rig, swept the fishing industry by surprise. But you look back at it, I mean, how many bass or how many fish have went downfall to a forward-facing sonar? Do you think an Alabama rig outfished a forward-facing sonar? No way. Not even a chance. You know what I'm saying? So, the technology from a lure to forward-facing. I mean, I went offshore fishing last Friday. All right, so I went up top. But it's a buddy of ours, so I run up top and was sitting there with him. And they have sonar, which is live sonar that pans out 3,000 feet. It's kind of like a Humminbird Live deal.
Uh-huh.
So this is for the ocean fishing now, okay? And I was like, oh my gosh. So we're trolling, and he goes, there's a big mark. There's two marks. So he cut a big circle, trolled around them, okay? Made one loop, cut them around them again. We hooked two white marlins out of the bunch.
Wow.
Which those were the two marks that we saw. We're in the middle of the ocean, okay? And they're catching billfish off of that sonar. And I'm like, golly Moses, this is like incredible, And so I got to talking to him about tournaments. I said, well, man, y'all have an advantage in tournaments. He said, well, we're not allowed to use this in tournaments. And I said, really?
Huh.
He goes, yeah, because everybody throughout the field cannot afford to have this sonar. So they make the rule where it's just straight up, you go and go. He said, now there might be a few guys that have their separate little pot that they'll fish, where if, a week or so from then, they'll have another little deal and they'll fish with when they can use those sonars or whatever like that. But for the actual tournament, like the White Marlin Open, I think, and a couple of those big tournaments where you win $3 or $4 million, yeah, that stuff's all cut out. You cannot turn it on.
Wow.
So it's an equal playing field. And I was, and I was kind of thinking like, wow, here we are, bashers, and things like that. But to get to that point, I'm not saying that we need to cut that off or whatever. I think me and you kind of spoke about this not too long ago at a tournament or whatever. I'm game for everybody to be equal. You know what I'm saying? Like, Humminbird has one, Garmin has one, Lowrance has one, and things like that. We need to be all as one, equal. And I'm not saying that, people are going to have their that everybody has to run the same one. I'm just saying equal in maybe numbers as far as having one forward-facing sonar up front, or it doesn't matter what you run. Just that's what the thing is. NASCAR's got restrictor plates. Golf people can only carry so many clubs. I mean, they cut us out on the Alabama rig. We can't throw that. I mean, what like I said, what catches more, an Alabama rig or a forward-facing sonar? Forward-facing sonar.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even throw a double fluke rig.
Yeah.
The double fluke rig came out before there was a forward-facing sonar or an Alabama rig. Why did I get cut out on that? I mean, wouldn't you like to see me on live haul in 2 5-pounders at one time, wrestling them around? I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that I don't agree with, but there's a lot of things I do agree with, and that was just it was kind of funny when money was involved out there in the ocean, big money. They cut all that stuff out. You know what I'm saying? Let's go fishing.
Yeah. So you're all for keep it in, just limit it to so everyone can have the same 1 unit per boat or however the limit is.
Yeah, I mean, they don't need 12 down each side of their boat where they're looking, give a fish at least one a chance.
Do you think the Alabama rig was, I mean, the two get compared and their two are totally different. And I do like to defend some of the decision with the multi-rig baits. I mean, I think that just got out of hand. Like literally they canceled that. And dude, I was stood beside Tripp every morning at the tournament, and it without fail, somebody, Steve Kendi, a lot of times, but somebody would come over and be like, come on over here. Let me show you this different rig of a spinnerbait I have. And they were all just out multi-hooked Alabama rig, kind of, you know what I mean? Trying to figure out, cause it was catching them. So I think that it became like the multi-hook thing becomes a problem, but then you look at a jerkbait, it's got 3 hooks on it. Like, I mean, it is. So anyways, long story short, do you think that decision was premature to cancel the Alabama rig?
No, I think, I mean, back in that time, I mean, the thing is, I think it could have been limited to, maybe 2 hooks or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big, something like that where people still could have threw it. You wouldn't have had no controversy. Limited to 2 hooks or, something, because that could have flew in every state. You know what I'm saying? Most states were 3. Some states were 5, but if you had limited it to 2, then you could have had it covered everything, and then you wouldn't have to worry about nothing. Who cares if they threw it? I mean, whatever. So that's what I'm saying is, they limited us to how many hooks we can throw, limit us to how many transducers we can have.
Yeah.
And there it is. I mean, this is how you rig your boat. This is who's going to be the smartest. Are you going to put on 2 forward-facing sonars? Are you going to go have you one 2D? Where it's this and that, or I mean, there's a lot of discussion about how it's going to go down, if there is anything going to go down. I don't know. I haven't heard a thing. You probably haven't heard a thing. So until probably January 1 that we know, hey, we're all aboard, we're going to go do this or whatever. I mean, it's still an upshoot, but is it fun? Oh my gosh, it's a blast,
Sure,
but
yeah.
I will tell you this, just like the Alabama rig, yeah, it came out and it was the top-notch deal of it all. And I know that, Okeechobee was one on it last year. There was Seminole was one on it, the smallmouth tournaments and stuff like that. There was, fish wherever we went was caught on it and all that. But sooner or later, and I'm not saying it's going to be next year, the year after, whatever. Yeah, it's still going to help you find them. But I can tell now I have a pond that I get to fish in all the time. It's probably 30 acres, 60 foot deep, gin clear. They swim around out in the middle. Yeah, I catch them off, forward facing sonar. And we've been so much and have caught them with that forward face sonar. Now, when I ping on them and I spin around and I get on them, dude, they run like there's a pack of dogs on them. Like they're
Yeah.
gone. I mean, they just take off and go. And usually, like we got a few brush piles in there. There's always someone. I can pull up and pan around that brush pile and watch them swim off that brush pile and go. They're getting used to that. They hear it coming. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the Alabama. So, yeah, it will. Yeah, right now it's a time. Now, up there on them fish up north, I don't think it'll ever matter up there. You
No.
know what I'm saying? I mean, they're just. I mean, you catch him off the bed, and they're just that mentality. They don't care. They're mean and stuff like that. But as far as them largemouth down here on these southern lakes and stuff like that, it's going to take a toll on them, and it'll be back to figuring out that special little trick or trick of the trade or something that when you go back to fishing to get that extra 4 or 5 bites a day. That's my opinion.
All right. I mean, I think it's a good. I mean, I think all opinions are good on it because it doesn't matter what you say. Somebody's going to be like, "Oh, I disagree." Because I mean, it's the most polarizing topic I remember in the history of the sport. Literally, I mean, people feel so passionate about it one way or another. But you said you like to sit in the tree and think back on this year and how things went in the upcoming year. So what are your thoughts about how things are going right now for you?
The fishing this year was pretty good. I mean, I made some, and before I say this, every person or every kid or female or whatever that asks me, man, what can I tell somebody about fishing that, whatever. And I always tell them that they have to trust their instincts or trust your decisions.
Yeah.
Decisions in bass fishing are the most biggest things ever. And I can look back on a few tournaments where I didn't do bad. I made the top 50. I'm there. But during that top 50 day, instead of going left, I went right. That was my decision to do that. So I look back on those decisions. But as far as man, I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? I show up. I mean, I get to fish on the biggest platform that there is. I mean, bass it's always been that way. My grandpa, I was fishing FLW. Okay, the FLW magazine or outdoors, they had a magazine. Well, I go to my grandpa's house. Now I've done made the Forcewood Cup, been in this and this and that. I go to my grandpa's house and nothing but Bassmaster magazine is laid across the table. My grandpa was a faithful follower of bass, so it's always been in my blood. My dad loved, but the classics. It's the biggest platform there is. It's the Super Bowl of bass fishing. So to get back to what I was saying, yes, I'm ecstatic about where I'm at. I made the classic again. I get to fish to win. If you're not in that thing, you don't have a chance to win it. And but in my mind, I'm getting a little bit older, and it seemed like this year was a little bit harder for me as far as not physical wise or nothing like that. I had one little hiccup where was in the hospital or whatever. I mean, you knew about that.
Pretty big hiccup, dude. I mean,
yeah. But the thing is, it's like these days, like now, in my mind, and I'm trying to word this in my mind how I'm going to say this. 5 years ago, everybody was chasing me. You know what I mean? Like I say me, I'm saying like me, Hackney, Van Dam, Skeet Reese, the guys that have been there for so long, the Iconelli, the Polnick, and all that stuff. Now it's like, and I mean, I know these guys will say the same thing. It's now we're chasing somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like these forward facing active target, the guys that live and breathe by that deal. It's like now in my mind, I'm chasing them. You see what I'm saying? There's no like, and that's what was getting me. And I was like, man. And then you get to the end and where it's going to play a big factor, and ended up doing decent and things like that. But last night when I was sitting in the tree, I was thinking about, man, why is it so good, and what are they doing different? Well, they're not doing nothing different than what we used to do back in the day. Instead of fishing all the good looking stuff, they're just fishing all the bad looking stuff where nobody else is fishing, and that's where the fish are. So there is that different, the different. I would say there's that different mindset that you have to have when you fish with forward facing center, or the mindset of if you're going to fish old school. You said it best: old school fishermen versus new school fishermen, and it is what it is.
From the outside, it felt like this season, the person who kind of got punished in some ways is the person that tried to put their foot on the dock and the boat at the same time. You know what I mean? And that's the veterans. That's everybody who's, you guys know how to use forward facing sonar. It's not magic. It's not like you guys haven't figured it out. But there was a lot of times where a angler would get rewarded that did nothing but forward facing sonar. And I think that's one of the biggest, for the naysayers and the people that dislike it, that is the big topic. Does it overtake everything? And I'm with you where I think that fish will adjust in time. I mean, the technology also is adjusting pretty quick too, it seems. But so will you fish different this year? If you feel like you're chasing them, how do you change? And I know you don't like chasing, you like leading.
There's going to be a few tournaments where it's going to be all about the forward-facing sonar. Whether we go, one or all or whatever, it's going to be about those. I mean, those are going to be the ones where you're going to have to survive, and those are the ones that are going to mean the most in the points, the AOI, the things that are going on to make AOI. So yeah, I mean, people, they say, well, man, they just end up the season. They don't, man. As soon as the schedule came out, I'm thinking about, man, what do I need to do here? You know what I'm saying? So it's running through my mind every day about how to go about things, how I'm going to rig my boat, what am I going to put on that Falcon to help me this year, And we're still in that, like I said, we're still in that standby where we don't know if we can have 8 forward-facing sonars up there, or we can have 1, or we can have nothing, As far as I'm sponsored by Lowrance. I've been with Lowrance my whole career, and that's the way that Lowrance makes money, is by selling forward-facing sonar, active targets. And in my opinion, I don't think that we need to go away with them, but I do, like I said before, we do need to be limited for. I mean, that might be the way that they pay for me to be able to fish on the Bassmaster Elite Series, is by selling forward-facing sonar. So I'm not totally against it, but I'm with it too. You know what I mean? So it's just whatever they say. I'm good to go.
I got you. It's such a. I really go into every podcast being like, we're going to talk about everything but it just seems to dominate every topic because it's that big a deal. I mean, it's changed. Are you surprised that this year it became such a big deal? You know what I mean? Like this year, technology's been around a long time. We've been talking about forward-facing sonar for several years now, but this year it just really seemed to. Why this year? Why was this year different?
I mean, because people are getting their butts whipped.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, But that's all that what it comes down to. I mean, people losing money. Money in this sport is what drives everything. You give us a raise. Give us a raise or something. Do something that you'll never hear about Ford Facing Sonar. But people are getting to that times where Mercer, if people are losing money, they're struggling.
Yeah.
And when they can point the finger at something, then that's what they point the finger at. You know what I'm saying? Like Ford Facing Sonar doesn't have Joey Cervantes would have caught him somehow any way he could have. He's very good with it. He understands it. He fishes with it. Koya, I mean, he's one of the best. I mean, like I told you, Taku. I mean, dude, those guys live by that stuff. Now, I mean, I'd like to put Taku and Koya against me and Hackney on Choke Canyon, where it's a bird walking mat from one side to the other, and let's see how that goes down. You know what I'm saying? But that's the way I want to fish. That's the way Hackney would want to fish, or Swindle, or Pawning, or whatever. But that's the way Koya and Taku want to fish. That's the way they feel more comfortable. So let them, no hard feelings against them at all. They're golly. I wish I knew what went through their minds, the young prince or whatever y'all call him, of whatever. Damn, I mean, he's absolutely incredible with it, and would love to be able to spend a day fishing with him and see some of the stuff that they have. Am I mad at him? No, but he has a bigger bullseye on his back every time he makes another top 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, but until his technology is his mindset, his technology and mindset, and what he has blows us away, man. We don't even hold a candle to what he has.
Yeah.
And to get back to that, it's just he has so much technology on that stuff in his mind. I mean, he knows, man, and it's hard to beat somebody when they have that big of an advantage.
Yeah, and in his defense, he's also trying to overcome a giant advantage that you guys have, which is 20, 30, 10, 5, whatever it is, years of experience fishing these bodies of water. I mean, he has no experience in doing that, but obviously he figured things out pretty quick. Let's get off of Forward Facing Sonar, though, because it will just monopolize everything. It really is.
Like I said, I'm good with it. Whatever happens. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. How different is this job to what you considered or what you thought it would be when you were a 12-year-old pre-fishing with Woo Days for the Classic, and now that you actually have this job and are very successful at this job? How different is it than what you expected, or is it the same?
It's I didn't think it would. In my mind, I kind of have got to where, in my mind, I can kind of see how things are going to go. The biggest thing to me is I didn't see how stressful it would be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, I get to go bass fish for a living. You know what I mean? But man, you get out there and it's 10 o'clock and you haven't had a bite on day one, and you're like, man, wow, Mercer's not going to be happy with me. And man, what am I going to do? This and that. And then hear them voices start talking in your head. And, it got me a few times, and I think that's when to get back to those decision makings and the stuff in your head. I got to the point where I was very good at wiping that stuff out, being like, Jacob, it's the same day as practice. You run around, and by the end of the day you've had 20 bites. Okay, let's go fishing. And that's when you kind of, all right, and you run down the lake and you pull over there and you get a bite. And then things start clicking again. Then you get another bite. And then it's 1:30 and you got 18 pounds. And you're like, all right, we survived. That's where that was the biggest mentality, or the biggest hump in my career, was being able to just say, go, you got to go. And I think that's where Jason Christie, that's where guys that fish on the fly, rolling or whatever. That's why they're so good, because they're fishing through that, that stressful part or whatever, because in his mind, he's thinking somewhere during the day, I'm going to run into him and I'm going to crack them. And this is how it's going to go down. And then, and things lead to him holding another blue trophy over his head, or, guys that are winning tournaments. And it's hard. I mean, you pull up and you've had 8 or 9 bites on a place, and then you pull up, they're there, and they're not biting. It's hard to leave when you're fishing. It's hard to go run something that you never had a bite on. So that was the stressful part of it. My family and friends and sponsors and everybody that's been with me and supported me 100%. I mean, I've had, family things when you're on the road for so long and they want you to come home and things like that. But for the most part, just hoping and wishing that by the end of the day, I have something to put in that Berkeley weigh-in bag to come up here on the stage with you.
Yeah.
Has been the most stressful part for me.
So the voices never go away, because I think the average fan thinks at this point of Jacob Powroznik's career, there is no voices in your head. But I mean, I don't think they ever. I think the voices in some situations get even louder. Like you'll see anglers win Angler of the Year, or win Classic, and all of a sudden, Seth Feider talked about that. The season after winning Angler of the Year, he said was the most stressful season he ever had, because all of a sudden he's the guy on the posters, he's the guy in the magazine, and those voices get even louder. How do you silence those voices? Is the only way to silence it through success?
Drugs. No. No, like Mercer. I mean, the thing is, and I'll put you to the test. You called me the first night before Toledo bid this year, the night before we start the first day. Call me at 1 o'clock and I'll answer on the first ring. I can't never go to sleep.
Wow.
The second tournament, I can't go to sleep the night before the tournament. Now, after day one, if I'm leading, dead last or whatever, I'm going to sleep like a baby. But I guess I'm getting so excited about it. The Classic is those tournaments, but the Classic is probably by far the easiest one to go to sleep at, because I think we're so tired before we start the actual deal that I can actually go to sleep around 2. I get maybe an hour or an hour and a half of sleep before the first night of the Classic. Now, after the first day, then I'm back to normal. But those first day jitters, I still have. I mean, bad. I lay there, I look at Instagram, I read a book, I read magazine, I do something, and it's just like, golly, man. Well, you're not on nothing. You're gonna have to fish by the seat of your pants. Why aren't you going to sleep? Well, now I'm worried. All right. And then I go to the next tournament and all right, well, I got 25 on the bed. They're lined up, I'm gonna be able to catch me 5 good ones. And I'm still just like, all right, what's gonna be the first flip? What's gonna be this? What you gonna throw a Cinco in there first? Are you gonna wacky worm it? I mean, it's just like my mind never quits running. And people call it jitters. I just think it's you trying to figure out in your mind what's going to be the best way to approach this deal. And I wish I could get over it, and hopefully one day it will, because it'll make for better sleep on the first day. But nah, I mean, it's just part of it, And I mean, I'd like to know how many people have it. I'm pretty sure there's a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's, especially the Classic, there is a lot of sleep I mean, the trend of the Classic, when I run into you guys during the week, every conversation goes many different directions, but at some point people are like, are you ready to just start fishing or what? Like people, it's like you get there, you pre-fish, and then it's like, okay, like the Classic is literally like a video game, I think. Like, as you make different levels, the fighters get harder, whether you're playing Mike Tyson Punch Out or the Bassmaster Classic. And it's like, okay, we're going to invite you to this tournament. It's going to seem easier because it's only 3 days, but you're going to have to do this, this, and this. And as if that wasn't enough, you're going to have to wear a suit. And you're going to have to, it's so much. I mean, dude, I don't sleep the night before the Classic, and I have no shot in hell of winning the Bassmaster Classic. Let me ask you, did anything else in your life ever do that to you? That feeling where you can't sleep the night before?
No. I mean, that's. I mean, the opening day of duck season. Well, probably. I'm excited about that, but then it's over. But not. There's nothing that'll touch the night before a tournament. Having those, and you say jitters or whatever. I don't. There's just so many vibes going on. You
Yeah.
can't control. And I think that's the biggest problem. And I I want to say most of it is excitement.
Yeah.
I can see me sitting there because I love competition. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what still drives me to want to be one of the best at what I do or at what's going on. But I think the other thing is like sitting in a tree stand when the buck walks up and like you can like literally feel your heart, going out of out of your chest or whatever. And and this might sound weird, but like I live for that feeling of you the first day of the first tournament or the second tournament or the third tournament. And we're going in 5, 4, hearing you count down to let's get this party started or whatever. And all that adrenaline and all that stuff is built up. And then, here we go. And then it's like it's released into the atmosphere and you're back on track. Does it make sense? I mean, does that make sense what I'm saying? Like once I get going, once I get the boat on plane, once that Mercury is stretched out and I'm running, then I'm fine. It's like everything has cleared. You know what I'm saying? All my fog and all that stuff in my head is gone, and I'm ready to go. But leading to that point, all right, the tree stand, here comes the buck. All right, so all that excitement, adrenaline, everything, until I release the arrow. You know what I mean? It's all that's the way I can describe it. It's like here it is, let's go. And then once it starts, and then I'm good to I'm fine.
Yeah. Then you're just fishing. I mean, and I agree with that. I don't think it's jitters. I think it's excitement. It's an overwhelming of excitement in you that literally, I mean, that's all. I mean, I just think that means you got that's why you try to qualify for the freaking Bassmaster Classic, all that stuff that we all hate, all of that, like everything that people probably hate at the moment. It's that feeling that, I mean, it's that build that makes holding that trophy and having that moment so special. You know what I mean? You really just caught the 5 biggest fish over a group of 50 dudes, basically. It's not as earth-shattering, but it is to you because, dude, you've been watching people do that. Woo Daves do that. You watched all these people who have done it year after year when you were a little kid, and all of a sudden you're there and you've been close in the Classic. Is that what drives you now? Is the Classic drive you for everything?
Well, I mean, I could have finished dead last in all of my qualifying and it still drive me. That's it's the biggest platform that there is, to win. I mean, I can only imagine like, Hank winning it twice back to back, I mean, like golly, the bum, dude. I mean, it was awesome to win it one time. And then to win it again, back to back, I can only imagine his excitement, of having that chance or going into that final day or whatever the second time. Wow, and for, I mean, all the guys that have won the Classic, Edwin and shoot, we could go down the list, Larry Nixon, all the guys that are in there that are fishing with us, and Kevin, winning it. I think what did Kevin win it 3 years in a row?
Yeah, we had
Or 2
4 in
years in a row?
total. Yeah, 2 back-to-backs.
Yeah,
And
2 back to back. Yeah, I mean, like, wow. I mean, it just got to be a regular club tournament for him. He's like, oh, well, it's just another tournament. But I asked him about that one day, and this is what got me. He said that he still gets more excited about the Bassmaster Classic than anything they ever. That meant more to him doing that. But it's the top. I mean, it's the Super Bowl. I mean, that's what everybody plays football for to get to the Super Bowl. Everybody everybody fishes throughout all the year. And you can think about, you go back through the Bass Nation and the Bass Opens and the Bassmaster Elite Series. Go back and ask them guys down through there. Look, the guys in the Bass Nation or the Bass Federation, they fish all that because there is a chance that they get to go to the Bassmaster Classic. If they fish it, ask them. I have buddies that, God Almighty, that's all they live for. They can't leave their families, but the Federation has given them that chance of, wow, there is a chance that I can, do this. And a couple of my buddies have done it. They have walked across the Bassmaster Classic stage through the Federation and through those tournaments and stuff. And then you got the Opens, which if I ever had to go back and fish all 9 Opens again, I quit. I'm done. You'll never see me again. I will be a full-time hunter. Hats off to those guys that did that. I have done it twice now. I did it in 2013, but it was only 3. But they were kind of right here on my home. Now, to kind of guarantee yourself in it, you have to fish all 9.
Yeah.
And wow, what you want to talking about some ups and downs, adrenaline, like you want to cut your head off, don't want to fish no more type deals. Get in that and try to battle to make the Bassmaster Elite Series. And like I said, hats off to the guys that are doing it. Hats off to the guys that are going to do it this year. What a very, very special accomplishment that's going to be. That's something that you can hang your hat on something and say, I did one of the hardest things in the world to become a professional bass fisherman. And by far, I've lived it. I know it. And it's something I'll never do again. I told y'all that in a meeting. Nope.
And I think that whole, like when you did it, especially the second time, I mean, you made it tougher on yourself in the way that, because of what you'd accomplished already in the sport. Anybody that takes a step away from something that is guaranteed for them, basically their spot, at the Bass Pro Tour, but for you to step away and say, hey, I want to qualify for this, that had to be a lot tougher on you. And for it to take you a couple of years to do it, I mean, was there ever a time where you were like, screw this?
Yeah, it was. There was, well, can I go back? You know what I mean? Like, can I, but no, I stuck to my guns, and I was laughing when I said that, but no, there was no turning back. It was going to be, to be able to win the Classic, you have to be in the Elite Series. And, that's what I wanted to do. And the people that made it more clearly to me were my sponsors. I emailed my sponsors, and before I even made a decision, and asked us and sent them all an email and said, hey, this is my plan. And I mean, right away, all of them were behind me 100%. So I think that was the horse kicking me in the ass saying, all right, some of them said, we'll give you da-da-da, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, hey, you got 5 years to do this. It was like, let's get it done quickly. Let's get back on track. But that gives you that overwhelming feeling that says, hey, they believe in you. They want you to do it. They're behind you. Now let's get it done. And that's what, that's what sponsors are for. And that's what we live for. That's why we work so hard for them and try to represent and promote their products and things like that to the best of our ability. I mean, it's all a big family. We just live in the middle of it. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. What is the single greatest fish you've ever caught? Doesn't it, whether it be a tournament or whatever, but if somebody said to you, man, what is the one fish that you want to relive in your mind over and over again? Which one is it?
I had one. That was me catching that 8-pounder at Toledo Bend when I won my first Elite Series. that's been the biggest one of my career. Uh, that was one of those ones I found on the last day. The fish were kind of still spawning some. They were still moving up, but that one was like, it was just like a gift of God. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm going down a pocket and I look all the way across the pocket out in the middle, and there's like a hump out there, like a little hump that had one lily pad stuck up on top of it. And I eased over there and I was like, golly, man. I said, that's a big old bed. I said, I can't believe there's not one laying by that log. Well, the closer I got, that log moved, swam off. And I was like, oh boy, there she is, And so that was the highlight of my fish catching. I think that fish was 8.2 or 8.4 or something like that. But it was a big one, and it won the tournament. And but if I had to pick one from last year, it would be the third day. So when we left on the third day going out, I was 1 point out of the Classic at the St. Lawrence River. So I was in 44th heading out. And I knew that I needed to catch. I said if I caught 23 on the third day, it would put me in the Classic. I wouldn't have to worry about nothing. Well, it's 10 o'clock and I got 1 4-pounder, like a bunch of like 2-pounders. And I don't have a clue where they've gone. I'm like, whatever. So I ended up catching 4 more 4-pounders, which give me I had about 18 and a half pounds. And I'm like, man, I gotta catch a big one. So I ran out to a place and I caught a couple off of it. They weren't big, and it's just a single rock. So I pan over and there's 3 smallmouth on this rock. I fire out there and I caught one about 4.5, which I said, man, that's probably gonna give me right at 20. I threw it back out there, caught another one about 4.5, and I said, well, that's 20. And I said, dear Lord, please let this one be a big one. And I threw it back out there and eased along, and it didn't bite. Then about that time, Sago pulls up in the camera boat, and I said, man, Sago always brings me good luck, and this is going through my mind. And I pitch back out there and it goes down and I pick up and it's got me welded to the bottom. It was a 6.4.
Wow.
And I got it in and I had 23-14 or whatever the third day. I think it made the Classic. So, a 6.4 smallmouth to end the year. That was the last fish I caught that day, was a 6.4 to come in and then, to be done. So that one has stuck in my mind, a lot,
Yeah.
over the last couple weeks and months. But the most of all was that one at Toledo Bend.
Who motivates you on tour? Like, who do you look at and be like, man, I need to keep working?
Hackney motivates me a lot to do really good, because if you beat Hackney, most of the time you're up there pretty close. So we have a running joke that, kicked your butt, or, just kind of keeps fuel to the fire. But I mean, this year, it's a few of them, like you said, I don't ever like to be the trailer. I like to be what did you say?
You like to
Horse
lead.
pulling the trailer,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the lead, or like the lead, or whatever. That's what strives in every one of us. There's 103 anglers that are fished that, and I call them wolves. You go and nick your arm one time and see what happens. They're on you. You know what I mean? They're they're a pack of wolves, and they're always looking for something to eat. And you are, but that's a pretty tough question too. Who They all do. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll just say that they all do. I don't like getting beat by none of them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure they can all say that about me or whoever. Like, nobody likes to get beat. So I wouldn't say I could single out one person, but I want to go. Like when I show up to Toledo Bend, I want to win, and
Yeah.
I hope that everybody would think that way. I'm not going to show up just to say, man, I hope I finish 49, get a check. Like I want to win. Now, after it gets into that second day, and then I know that I don't have a chance to win, then I'm fishing for that 49. You know what I'm saying? Like to try to get some money back or whatever. But I would have to say it's the whole field that wants me to be better, because there's so many guys that do so many different things, that their strengths and techniques, and they can do just about anything. So I, instead of singling out one person, I'm going to say the whole field.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. Who do you find yourself drawn to? I find fog delay, something's going down. Who are you? Who's your boat tied up against? Who do you like to hear stories from?
Well, where were we at when we were fogged in for so long? I think I got between Christie and Larry Nixon when we were fogged up or had a delay or something. And man, the stories between them two, you know what I'm saying? Jason's a real big bow hunter.
Yeah.
And loves to shoot big bucks and stuff like that. So got to talking about that. And then Larry is also a big hunter, loves a duck hunt and stuff like that. And then we got Larry telling stories about mega bucks and stuff like that. So he kept us entertained for a little while. But I would have to say either, I would have to say Greg Hackney, Larry Nixon, and Christie tied up between them would be a pretty good morning in a fog delay. They'd keep you entertained.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're pretty good with the stories yourself. I mean, I'd say that's a good group
Sometimes.
to hang out together with. But no, I mean, dude, I think that I think this season's going to be a lot of fun. I really am very interested to see how the whole deal with forward facing sonar plays out, obviously, to see what ends. And I think that if it is full on go at it, I think that'll be even interesting too, because I think that you guys, like you said, are a pack of wolves, or whatever you want to, whatever analogy you want to. And I think that the one thing I hate that the Alabama rig made illegal is I would have just loved to see what you guys would have done with it. I mean, because you guys take everything to the extreme. And I think we're kind of seeing that with forward facing sonar and how it works out. But this year's schedule, you got to be happy with some of the fisheries. I mean, some fisheries you've done well on in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like going. I like going to back to new places. I started I got to my first win was at Toledo Bend. We're starting off the year there, which will be good. It's going to be one of those deals there where some of the fish are just moving up to spawn, but a lot of them are going to be caught out there off the bank, and forward facing sonar, lipless crankbaits, chatterbaits, Cincos. I mean, it's just the list goes on, but. Leaving there and then coming on down the lane, then we get to go to Smith Lake. I won an open there, which got me in the Classic the year that I was not fishing the Classic. So that was a special treat. And then, back up north again and stuff like that for the tournament. So I'm excited about we're going to Wheeler. We ain't been to Wheeler in a long time. And so anxious to kind of see what that's all about and things like that. I like new adventures, and to me, a bass is a bass, whether he lives in Canada or he lives in Florida or California or Japan or whatever. He's going to live around something, and I like hunting and trying to figure him out. So, that's the best part about what it is. But going up north, and I think me and you and people they might hate me for this or whatever, but well, if we go to Champlain again, why do we even got to practice? You kind of actually said that a little bit, and I've been thinking about that for a while. And you're kind of right. About one day you can have them licked. I mean, it is what it is. They kind of live in the same places, and you get one day where it's calm, you can kind of run around and check them. It's kind of that deal. So maybe a little more time to hunt or, something during that time of year. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Those smallmouth and stuff have a really special place in my heart. I tell everybody all the time, when God created them, He knew exactly what He was doing when He created a smallmouth. And they're acrobats, they're biters, and they're really, really fun to fish for. Not when you're leading angler of the year or something like that, but they're pretty fun to fish for.
Yeah, they're pretty incredible fish, and they keep people sane from the winter. That see how you get all excited about, oh, it's getting fall. It's so funny how like it gets fall here too, but we're not excited. Like I love the fall. I mean, if it would say perpetual fall, I'd be okay. But you like what it signifies. I don't like what it signifies because it just means it's going to get a little bit more nasty. But dude, I appreciate you for doing this, and I really appreciate you for pulling some time away from your hunting because I know you don't like to do that.
Oh, anytime, anything for you, Merce, as good as you are and what you do for us, and you know, we take care of you, and you take care of us. So, whatever we can do, it's fun, and I mean, it's good to kind of get some of this, stuff out and off my mind, and what a better way to do it and put it out there and see what people think. I mean,
Yeah,
like I said, back in the day, I would have had little more to say about things that are going on, but I mean, there's really, it is what it is, guys. I mean, uh, if you want to, if they're going to unlimited us to whatever we can do, then I might have to step my game up. If they're going to limit us to one or two or however many it goes, then it is what it is. And if you're going to make us wear 8 life jackets, then that's what it is. So, let's go and let's go fishing and have a good year. I mean,
why do you think
man,
you changed like that?
it would just.
Why do you think the change in you when you say years ago you would have said more? Is that just a change in you as a person? Is that
I just think that it's not. I just think that one single person can't change. The things. I think it's gonna take the whole task force. You know what I mean? To
yeah,
get things changed. And instead of me voicing an opinion about it or whatever, the only thing that I'll say this to the public or whoever's going to hear this, we had a thing if we wanted to change any rules, we had a thing you could write in. The only thing
yeah,
I changed was I wanted to be able to throw my double fluke rig again. That was something that went out, before the Alabama rig ever came aboard.
yeah,
And I want to be able to throw a double fluke rig, or I don't know if you remember this, but Norman back in the day made a front runner.
yeah, the front runner.
I want to be able to throw my front runner again, and that's it. I mean, okay, y'all took the Alabama rig away. That's 5 lures, but I'm throwing 2 flukes at the same time. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? 2 flukes, a topwater bait with another little topwater bait like it's chasing it. It's an attractant. You know what I'm saying? So
I
that's
agree
what
with
I
you
asked
there.
for. So if y'all want to know, I didn't ask to take away Ford Face Center or nothing like that. I asked to get the double fluke rig and the front runner back.
How many other
And
people you think asked for that?
I know a couple of people did that did it. So it was it's just something that needs to be out there. You know what I mean? I mean, man, on live TV and there's 3 pound spotted bass schooling. Why not catch one? Catch 2 at a time.
Yeah,
Or that thing can be worked out over, all over any kind of, stuff and get some big bites or something that you can trigger a big bass every now and then. It's something that works very, very few times, but it's often used seldom, if that makes any
yeah,
sense.
yeah. But when it works, I agree with you. I mean, a double fluke rig when it's hammering, and I agree with you on the fact that like there's a lot of innovation that has been missed because of that. No, you know what I mean? Like with as much as the drop shot gets fished and everything now, I'm like, if you could have a double rig, never mind the Alabama rig, but if you could double up like that, there would be many cool things that people would get to see. So, I mean, all I'm saying, Lisa, Chris, all the dude wants is the freaking double fluke rig. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
think that's a lot to
exactly.
ask for, is it?
No,
No.
not at all.
All right. Go shoot a
I
deer.
mean,
Who's the best hunter on the
go
Elite
outside. Give me
Series?
thing. Do what now?
Who's the best hunter on the Elite Series?
I'm going to give you two names.
All right.
And the only reason I say this, is because of how they hunt and what they do. I'm gonna say Polnick or Clifford Perch.
Yeah. Yeah. Hiking
It's
mountains.
Clifford Perch and Polnick, not so much the mountains, but the things they hunt around, like mountain lions and things like that, that could eat their little ass at any given time.
Yeah.
That they just have to eat me because I ain't running. You know what I mean? And they're little enough where you know what I'm saying. But they hunt in some rough territory, and they hunt big animals. They're both hunting elk and stuff like that, and that's pretty tough. They're gone for a week or so camping on the side of the mountains and stuff like that. So yeah, it would have to be between them two.
All
I
right.
think Polnick's terrain and weather is a little more than Cliff's, but I think Clifford has few more things that could eat him than Polnick does. So it's kind of a weighing thing out there. So I don't know. It would be interesting.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of good hunters on the Elite Series. You are definitely one of them, and I'm not going to take any more of your time away from it. Go enjoy hunting season, and we'll see you in the new year.
All right, Merce. Thank you, buddy.
See you, brother. Great stuff with Jacob Powroznik. Can't thank him enough for being our guest this week. And I swear to you, it was not my goal to talk about forward-facing sonar. I'm literally tired of talking about forward-facing sonar, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about it, but everybody's got thought. I mean, at one point during that conversation, I said, let's not talk about forward-facing sonar anymore, and then we kept talking about it. And I think it was my fault. So I promise you that is not the topic we want to talk about every single week, but it is a big topic in the sport of fishing. And I thank you for putting up with it while we navigate this time in the sport, if that makes sense. I mean, because as much as I don't want to talk about it, a lot of you do want to hear different guests' thoughts on it. But we're going to make an effort next week not to talk about it again, but we'll see how that goes. But the only one way to find out is you guys tune in and find out if I'm able to not talk about it next week. Bob Cobb, take it away.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?